Now, you and I both have had a semi-friendly relationship with the quote-unquote conservative cable news station in America, Fox News. Now, mine primarily through Tucker Carlson, because Tucker Carlson veered from the establishment narrative when it came to Syria, when it came to Ukraine, and when it came to COVID. And eventually they fired him.
And Julian Assange and Edward Snowden and the CIA and all of that.
That's correct. I'll take credit for changing his mind about Julian Assange.
Yep.
It goes in my win column. And so all that stuff. So he became, I don't know what you would call it. He became a rationalist or a populist or whatever you want to put a label on him. But he started to tell the truth. And as I've said over and over on this show, you don't get in trouble for lying. You get promoted. You get $35 million contract like Rachel Maddow just got. She lied about Russiagate. She red baited the president and half the country, called them white supremacists for 4 years straight. And when she got rewarded with a contract that pays her literally $100,000 a day. A day. That's what Rachel Maddow gets paid from the War Machine, $100,000 a day. So you don't get fired for lying. You get promoted. You get a bigger contract. As soon as Tucker Carlson started telling the truth, they fired him. And that's why, and I have to tell people that's why they got fired. I mean, I go into comedy club green rooms all across the country and try to explain this to people, and their minds explode and they can't believe it. But so you recently, I was invited to go on that Jesse Waters show, and I did not respond. It made me feel uncomfortable, and I just wanted to show you came out and said that the chair of Columbia's Special Committee on Campus Safety says we are suspending Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace as official student groups through the end of the fall term. All the censorship is going in one direction. And then you tweeted this out. What absolute effing frauds Fox News is. They spent years denouncing, mocking, and screaming about censorship on campuses. I was many times to do it. Yes, I was with you. We all screamed about that. Now that the censorship is done to ban and silence critics of Israel, including a Jewish group, they couldn't be happier. And let me play
here in New York. They have seen many of these anti-Israel protests. Just now, the university has announced that they are suspending 2 student groups. One is called Students for Justice in Palestine, and the other Jewish Voice for Peace, which is a Palestinian advocacy group. Now, this school is writing the group's, quote, repeatedly violated university policy relating to holding campus events, and that culminated in an unauthorized event on Thursday that proceeded despite warnings and included threatening rhetoric and intimidation. So this is the first real example we've seen on the part of a major American university, an Ivy League school, that is pushing back against these groups. A major development. There could be a lot of reasons why we are seeing this afternoon.
So you went on to say that this is, of course, done in the name of safetyism. The conservatives have spent years denouncing, and the liberal left has spent years demanding. Now they're switching sides. Every time I cite another example of censorship happening on U.S. campuses and workplaces or in the media, always of pro-Palestinian voices, never pro-Israeli ones, I'm deluged with conservatives justifying the censorship by invoking classic theories of hate speech and safetyism. So now are they doing to you at Fox News what MSNBC did to you during Russiagate? They're just they're freezing you out. They're not inviting you on, and that's led you to criticize them. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, certainly unlike you, I think most of your appearances have been on Tucker's show. I've been on Laura Ingram's show many times. I've been on Jesse Waters' show many times. I've been on other Fox programs, Hallie Kurtz and a bunch of others. I do think I got one invitation to appear on Jesse Waters' program since the war started. That was my only invitation I got from Fox. I don't think I've gone 5 weeks in the last 6 years without getting an invitation to appear on Fox. And I think they only invited me on because they were confused about my view. They wanted me to go on and I forget exactly what it was, but they thought I was going to go on and bash left-wing protesters for like not obeying the campus rules or something. And I just couldn't go on that show that night for logistical reasons. It had something to do with my own show. And then this was early on in the war. I don't think they understood what my views were, and I haven't gotten an invitation since. I'm not bashing them because of that. And Laura Ingraham, who I think is closer to Tucker Carlson than, say, Sean Hannity on a lot of these issues. She's just more subtle about it, not quite as vocal.
Not this one.
She's a puppet, I say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, she knows how to keep her job, but I think that she's always had kind of paleo-conservative leanings. If you go back even to the Iraq War, she was not nearly as vocal as a lot of people on the American right. She was more closer to like Pat Buchanan and Ron Paul, but she certainly was an opponent. Anyway, so I didn't start criticizing Fox News because they haven't invited me on. They haven't invited me on because I've been criticizing Fox News. I've been criticizing American conservatives from the very beginning. You know, here's the thing, Jimmy. It doesn't surprise me at all that American conservatives, and again, I'm speaking generally here, there are a lot of exceptions, but I would say the majority of American conservatives decided to embrace censorship in order to protect Israel and silence pro-Palestinian voices. I've been saying for many years, including to the conservatives in my audience, that the American right has a gigantic Israel exception when it comes to their claimed belief in free speech. Red state governors and red state legislatures are the ones who enacted these laws requiring people to sign a vow not to boycott Israel if they want to be able to work with the state. You can boycott any other country in the world. You can boycott Peru and South Korea and China and Russia and Sweden, any country you want. Just spin the globe and point it at. Boycott them all you want, just not Israel. You're even allowed to boycott other American states.
Yes.
Andrew Cuomo was one of the people who he was one of the few Democrats who enacted this ban on people boycotting Israel, working with the state. Andrew Cuomo actually boycotted North Carolina and Indiana in response to their trans bathroom bills. And then he turned around and said, you can boycott Indiana and North Carolina. In fact, he forbade state employees from traveling to those states. But what you can't do is boycott Israel. But most of this came from red states. So I've always known there was this Israel exception to free speech on the right. It didn't surprise me at all. Therefore, what did surprise me, though, is that, especially after George Floyd, there started to become the popularization of these longstanding academic victimhood narratives that America is a systemically racist country, Black people are unsafe in America, trans people are unsafe in America, Latinos are unsafe in America, college students who are Black are unsafe on campuses, they need protection, and nothing provoked the vicious mockery and derision from conservatives more than victimhood narratives like that. Oh, you poor little snowflakes, you need your little safety room, your comfort blanket, your comfort dog, your yoga room, because you're hearing things that make you feel unsafe, poor little babies, all that mockery, we all heard it. And now suddenly, there's an exact same victim narrative invoked on behalf of American Jews among the most powerful subcultures and subgroups in all of the United States in terms of earnings, in terms of representation in institutions of power. Suddenly, we're now supposed to believe that, no, America is not systemically racist, it's systemically anti-Semitic. And America is not unsafe for Black people or for trans people, but it is unsafe for American Jews. And we don't need censorship to protect other minority groups, but we need it to protect Jewish students because they feel unsafe. And all these things that American conservatives claim to find so reprehensible in terms of victimhood narratives, they're now leading the way, embracing. And as a result, you get things like the Democratic governor of New York yesterday announcing a major new plan to increase surveillance of social media by the police in New York to monitor hatred and hateful thoughts in order to combat anti-Semitism. The exact sort of government authoritarianism that you always get when you try and convince a population they have to live in fear, that they're unsafe, when you spread neuroses and paranoia, as though there are roving bands of murderous Muslims on the hunt for American Jews. This is the neurosis and paranoia they're implanting in people's minds. And of course, government officials are stepping into that breach and saying, give us more power and we will protect you, just like they did after 9/11. And that is the fault of American conservatives.
So I wanted to show you this just to get your comment on it. Jake Tapper No one's ever going to accuse him of having too much integrity. He said that Jewish students tell Jake Tapper that she doesn't feel safe at MIT.
Wait, post-Epstein years?
So I don't have to show you the video, but
As a Jewish
here it
student
is.
at MIT, do you feel safe on campus?
You know, honestly, Jake, in the past few weeks, I have not felt safe on campus.
No.
Why not?
So, you know, ever since October 7th,
Because I'm told to push a narrative that will take away even more liberty and clamp down actual good constructive criticism of the genocide that the United States is helping enabling. Oh, that's not what she's going to say. Hang on.
we've seen at universities around the country that, you know, the conflict that's overseas has come to our home turf. And we've had a lot of rallies and events by an organization called the Coalition Against Apartheid, which is the anti-Israel group on MIT's campus. And they, along with some local anti-Israel groups, have come to campus because MIT is an open campus, which means that anybody can walk around and, you know, be on campus. So they together have done protests on campus on the steps of Lobby 7, which is the main entrance to MIT, and in front of the Student Center.
Oh,
And I mean, people protest.
Oh my
but-
God, protest.
oh
Oh my
my-
God, political protest against the war. How possibly could she even go outside? She must be incredibly brave. This is actually a constitutionally protected activity to protest, to organize against wars. Now, obviously, if people engage in violence, that's a crime. Those people should be arrested and go to prison. She didn't claim that.
No.
She didn't say she was physically attacked. She didn't say anyone threatened to attack her physically. She said there are protests on campus that are against the Israeli government's actions. That's called an anti-war protest. She may very well feel unsafe by it. But when black people said, I'm unsafe by protesters who are protesting against affirmative action or in support of the Confederate flag, or trans people say, I'm unsafe by people who depict or equate LGBTs with pedophiles, conservatives said, oh, boo-hoo, poor little you can't withstand disagreement. You think the world owes you a world that you're immunized from ever hearing any disagreement. That's exactly what she's saying she wants. And instead of mocking her, American conservatives, a lot of them are pointing to her and saying, this is a real victim. And we need to protect her through censorship and through banning these protests.
and Jake Tapper can't wait quick enough to get her on. Let me show one thing. Can't get her quick enough on his show to show the anti-Semitism of people on college campuses, which he's just manufacturing. And so the guys from Due Dissidence then ratioed him and said, hey, you're going to interview a Palestine baby and ask if they feel safe in their hospital? So of course not.
Yeah, let me ask, for anybody who takes seriously this bullshit narrative, let me just ask you, how would you feel safer? By being an American Jew from a wealthy family at an Ivy League school, the way she is, or being a civilian in Gaza? Where would you feel more unsafe? Is that a hard question? I don't think that's a hard question. And I mean, there was some that Due Dissidence page did this hilarious satire because Douglas Murray showed a video of a protest, just like the protest at MIT, an anti-war protest in the London subway. They sat down on the ground, they chanted anti-war protest, and there was a couple that was selling things or handing things out, and they had to move like about 20 feet to the left because the protest was in front of them. And Douglas Murray said, this is the most despicable and horrifying thing I've ever seen, in that drama queen way that he does while he pretends he's a tough guy.
He wrote a book called The Madness of Crowds.
Exactly. And, you know, and then he flew to Israel wearing like one of those press vests. There hasn't been a single person in Israel killed by Hamas since October 7th or October 8th, and he's over there pretending that he's in risk too. And he's talking about this protest and what he's seeing as the most horrific thing in the world, when nothing happened to that couple. No one menaced them. They just moved a few feet over. And this is the kind of drama queen neurosis from our nation's tough guys who call everybody snowflakes, who claim victimhood, who are now suddenly so interested in this self-victimization process.
Go ahead, Kurt.
You remember Kenosha when that kid shot people who were trying to kill him, who were trying to light things?
Yeah,
who were lighting things on fire. The guy he shot was an actual pedophile. People were more upset about him shooting that pedo than they are about thousands of all the kids. They're basically just Hamas's waiting to sprout. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, come see us doing a live stand-up show. We'll be in Burbank, California, Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California. Then we're going to Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, and Boston, Massachusetts. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.